Oliver Farry joins us now in studio to look at today's French papers. A very good morning to you, Oliver.
Good morning.
Oliver, first up, you've been looking there. Prime Minister Manuel Valls saying French intellectuals are in trouble, basically.
Yeah, this is one of those stories you're tempted to label only in France. The Prime Minister says the country's intellectuals, who are usually quite spoken about politics and who tend to be overwhelmingly left-wing, are not doing enough to counter the the rise of the far right in France. Marine Le Pen's National Front, of course, is set to top the polls in the first round of the departmental elections to take place this Sunday. Now, the left-leaning Libération, which is what you might call a paper of the intellectuals, makes play of today's solar eclipse on the cover. FN for National Front, the eclipse of the intellectuals is the headline. Inside, Libya says the intellectuals are not always intelligible on the matter of the far right, though it does note that many of them have treated Manuel Valls' comments with derision. Philosopher Michel Onfray calls the Prime Minister a cretin, really not mincing his words there. And the political scientist Laurent Bouvon blames the Socialist Party for sidelining intellectuals, never consulting them, taking their support for granted. In short, the intellectuals haven't left the Socialist Party has left them. He himself parted ways with the party in 2007. There are, of course, more populist far-right intellectuals, such as Éric Zemmour and Alain Soral, who are both bestsellers in France and probably far more likely to influence public opinion. Now, the historian Pascal Horry rolls out another reason for what he says is this sort of disconnect. He says the French model of intellectual engagement is in decline. He says too that the same criticism that Valls has made was made of French intellectuals by the historian Max Gallo in 1983, who was aligned with the Mitterrand government. But nowadays, few French intellectuals, other than the economist Thomas Piketty, have an international standing, and the model, he says, of the global or Anglophone intellectual is now to the fore. It's a very familiar pattern that has been played out in French society over the last decade or two. But in his editorial for Libération, Laurent Geoffrin defends the eggheads. He says that Marine Le Pen would probably be enjoying the same success even if the intellectuals were all over the headlines. He does, however, say that sometimes they have no answer for ordinary people who turn to the far right, concerned as they are by immigration, national identity and discontent with Europe. What is becoming of Republican France within Europe and globalisation? He says that is the question. Without an answer, we are disarmed.
Now, you mentioned there Marine Le Pen's far-right National Front. It's really doing well, according to all surveys, and could indeed win these local elections we're about to have here in France.
That's right, and the Liberal L'Opinion says that the far-right party is now a force to rival the duopoly of the Socialist Party and the right-wing UMP, and there will be a loser in this. The Socialists already find themselves behind the other two in the polls. The paper says after the departmental elections this month, there's the regional ones in December, and then there's the presidential elections in 2017, and it says, woe is the party who finishes third. There is a cartoon on the front cover, which is, again, you might say only in France, it's a little bit odd, where the three party leaders suggest a threesome. It's a rather risque for the front page of a newspaper. But more seriously inside, French politics is entering a new world, says L'Opinion. For the first time in a major two-round election, the main battles in the second round of these ones will be fought between the UMP and the National Front. So France is now effectively a three-party system. And François Hollande needs to rally the left and the centre significantly to even get to the second round in 2017, never mind get re-elected.
Yeah, because she's often been the protest voter, but it appears the National Front really starting to gain serious popularity.
It's easing into both the parties, yeah.
Indeed. Now, moving on to Tunisia, a country is still, rocked after that deadly shooting on Wednesday. Yeah,
Libération's headline reads, "In shock, Tunisia stands as one." The country, which has one of the biggest contingents of foreign jihadists in Syria, has now been struck by terrorism. President Beji Caid Essebsi has told his countrymen and women that, I want them to understand we're at war with terrorism and these traitors will be destroyed. Now, jihadism is infiltrating many sectors of Tunisian youth, even pretty much the top end. Like, there was a promising footballer who had played for the country's under-21 team, was killed in Syria recently. And the famous rapper Emino also arrived in Syria to join the Islamic State group the day of the attack. So it's quite widespread. It's certainly not a fringe element. And Liberace also reminds us there are dangers. The violence from neighbouring Libya could spill over into Tunisia, given the porous borders between the two countries. It quotes Tunisia's Foreign Minister Taib Bakouchi, says the greatest breeding ground for terrorism is the absence of a state in Libya.
Okay, Oliver, we're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we're out of time.